Have you ever felt that something was off? Even when she insists everything is fine, she smiles, she laughs, she says there's nothing to worry about, but deep down, you sense it. Guilt has a way of showing itself, not through words, but through actions, energy, and the little things she thinks you won't notice. Here's the truth: when a woman feels guilty, whether it's for crossing a line, hiding something, or betraying your trust, she won't always admit it. In fact, she'll often deny it to you and to herself. But if you stay calm, observant, and grounded like a man who knows his worth, you'll see the signs she can't hide in this video. We're going to break down subtle signs that reveal her guilt even if she denies it. And along the way, I'll show you how a Stoic mindset keeps you in control, unshaken by her words and focused on what truly matters: your peace, your clarity, and your standards. Let's get into it. Number 1. Over-explaining the over-explaining. The smallest things when guilt creeps in, silence feels dangerous to her. She starts explaining details you never asked for, like why she was just busy or why her phone was off. You didn't question her, but her conscience did, and that's exactly where most men get it wrong. They hear these sudden, unnecessary explanations and think, oh, she's just being open, being honest. But let's be real. Since when did someone feel the need to clarify things you never even brought up? That's not transparency, that's guilt, looking for a way out. Picture this. She texts you out of nowhere saying, sorry, I didn't reply last night. I fell asleep early and then my phone died. And this morning I had meetings back to back. You're sitting there thinking, I didn't even ask. That's when you know it's not about keeping you informed, it's about easing her own mind. She's not defending herself against your words, she's defending herself against her own guilt. Here's where a man grounded in Stoic principles stands apart. You don't jump in with suspicion. You don't start questioning or demanding more answers. No. You remain still because a wise man knows that when someone feels the weight of their own conscience, silence becomes louder than any accusation. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This is one of those moments your power isn't in pressing her for the truth, it's in letting her reveal it on her own. Every extra word she spills is a window into what's really going on beneath the surface. And trust me, the more you remain calm and unbothered, the more that guilt will work over time. She'll try to fill every quiet space with justifications, even when you give her no reason to why, because deep down she knows she's not being fully honest. Not with you and not with herself. Remember, a man who truly understands himself doesn't need to chase explanations or search for hidden meanings. He knows that guilt always finds a way to speak, even if she tries to deny it. Number 2, sudden acts of kindness out of sudden acts of kindness out of nowhere. Nowhere. She's unusually sweet, random gifts, thoughtful texts, unexpected favours. It feels nice, but ask yourself, is this affection or compensation? It's easy to get caught up in the warmth of these gestures. After all, who doesn't enjoy a surprise message saying, "I was just thinking about you," or a small gift she claims reminded her of you? But here's where you need to pause, not to doubt her, but to see clearly when these acts of kindness appear out of nowhere, especially after distance, tension, or something just feeling off. You have to wonder, is she expressing genuine affection, or is she trying to quiet a guilty conscience? Many times, guilt doesn't show up with a confession. It shows up wrapped in kindness, hoping you won't notice the weight behind it. Imagine this. You've been sensing her pulling away, responses slower, energy different. Then, suddenly she's offering to do favours, sending you thoughtful messages, maybe even showing up with your favourite coffee without being asked. It feels like things are improving, right? But a man who's grounded, who's not swayed by every emotional wave, knows better than to take everything at face value. Marcus Aurelius reminded us to see things for what they are, not worse than they are, not better, just as they are. So when she showers you with unexpected sweetness, you don't reject it, but you also don't lose yourself in it. You accept the gesture with calm appreciation, but you keep your eyes open. A man aligned with his purpose isn't blinded by temporary acts of kindness because he understands that true connection is consistent. It doesn't need to be overcompensated for. He knows that when guilt lingers beneath the surface, people often try to balance the scales, not by addressing the issue, but by distracting you from it. So enjoy the nice words, the thoughtful surprises, but don't let them cloud your judgment. Stay centered, stay observant. You don't need to question her motives out loud because time always reveals whether kindness is genuine or a cover-up. In the end, a man who walks with quiet strength doesn't get seduced by surface-level sweetness. He sees beyond it, not with cynicism, but with clarity, because he knows when guilt is present, it often dresses itself up as generosity, hoping you'll mistake it for love before we move on. Ask yourself, have you ever been caught up in sweet gestures, only to realize later there was more beneath the surface? It's easy to enjoy the moment, but real strength is in staying aware. If you've experienced this, share your thoughts in the comments, or just write, I choose clarity over comfort. As a reminder that a grounded man sees things as they are now, let's get into the next insight because awareness is everything. Number 3, defensive, without a reason. Without a reason, you mention something harmless and she jumps into defense mode. Guilt turns simple conversations into imagined accusations. You've probably experienced this before. You say something casual like, I didn't hear from you last night, or, oh, you were out. Completely neutral, no hidden meaning, but suddenly she's on edge. Her tone shifts and she starts explaining herself as if you've just accused her of something serious. You're left thinking, where did that come from? Here's the truth. When guilt is quietly sitting in the back of her mind, even the most innocent comment feels like a spotlight. She's not reacting to your words. She's reacting to what she knows but refuses to admit. That's why conversations that should be simple suddenly feel heavy, tense, and defensive. This is where Stoicism becomes more than just a philosophy. It becomes your shield. A Stoic man understands that not every battle is his to fight when she gets defensive without cause. You don't mirror her energy, you don't raise your voice. You don't explain yourself, and you definitely don't start overanalyzing what just happened. You simply stay calm because you know her reaction has nothing to do with you and everything to do with her own internal conflict. Your calmness becomes a mirror. She can't escape while she's trying to fight a battle that only exists in her mind. Your stillness forces her to face what's really going on without you. Ever needing to say a word, Seneca once said, a guilty mind can't handle calm judgment. That's why your emotional discipline is so powerful in these moments. You don't feed the fire. You let her wrestle with her conscience while you remain grounded, unshaken. So next time she gets defensive over something that didn't warrant it, don't chase after explanations or try to smooth things over. Just observe. Let her energy reveal the truth, because a man who masters his reactions understands this simple fact. When she's fighting ghosts, your silence is louder than any argument. Number 4, avoiding eye. Avoiding eye contact at crucial moments. Contact at crucial moments. Words can lie. Eyes rarely do if she struggles to meet your gaze when things get serious. Her guilt is louder than her voice. Have you ever noticed it? You're having a conversation that starts to touch on something a bit deeper, something that brushes up against accountability or honesty, and suddenly she can't hold your gaze. She looks down, glances away, fidgets with her phone, or focuses on anything but your eyes. That's not random, that's not shyness, that's guilt trying to hide where it can't be spoken. See, when a person feels clear and honest, they meet you, eye to eye, without hesitation. But when there's something unresolved beneath the surface, something they hope you won't notice, the eyes become a giveaway. She might be saying all the right things, giving you rehearsed answers, or insisting that everything's fine. But her inability to meet your gaze when it matters says otherwise. And here's where most men stumble. They start pressing for answers. Why won't you look at me? Or is there something you're not telling me? But that only gives her a chance to deflect. and build more words around the truth. She's avoiding a man grounded in calm strength. Doesn't fall for that game. He knows that silence and presence reveal more than interrogation ever will when she avoids your eyes. You don't react emotionally. You don't demand explanations. You simply hold your gaze steady. Composed, unbothered Marcus Aurelius reminded us to be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it in moments like these. You are that cliff, her discomfort, her avoidance, her restless energy. It all crashes against your stillness by holding eye contact, not aggressively, but confidently. You create a space where she has to confront herself. You're not accusing her, you're not playing mind games, you're just standing in your truth, letting her own conscience do the talking. So next time you notice her dodging your gaze when the conversation gets real, remember, you don't need to say much. Your calm, unwavering presence is enough to make guilt surface. The eyes will always reveal what the mouth tries to hide. Number 5, bringing up loyalty. 2. Bringing up loyalty. Too often when someone repeats how trustworthy they are, it's often to silence their own doubts. If she keeps assuring you of her loyalty without reason, ask yourself, why does she feel the need to think about it? True loyalty doesn't beg for recognition. It doesn't need constant reminders or verbal reassurance. When someone is genuinely committed and their conscience is clear, they simply live it. Their actions speak so consistently that words become almost unnecessary. But when guilt lingers beneath the surface, you'll notice something different. She starts weaving the word loyalty into conversations that don't even call for it. I'd never do anything to hurt you, or I'm not like those other women. You can trust me at first. It might sound sweet, like she's just reaffirming her commitment, but when these statements come up too often, especially without any reason, that's when you need to pause. Why does she feel the need to convince you of something that should be evident through her behaviour? Here's where emotional discipline separates a grounded man from one who blindly accepts words as truth. You don't challenge her directly, you don't get defensive or start listing reasons why you do trust her. No, that's exactly what guilt hopes you'll do. So it can hide behind your reassurance. Instead, you observe. You understand that when someone constantly declares their loyalty, it's often because they're trying to drown out the quiet voice within. That's questioning it. Epictetus taught that you should be so well ordered in your own character that you don't need to boast about your virtues. The same applies to those around you. People who are truly loyal don't need to declare it. They embody it quietly and consistently. So when she keeps bringing up how trustworthy she is, don't get lost in the sweetness of her words. Stay calm, stay centered. Watch if her actions align with the image she's trying to paint, because a man of quiet strength understands. The more someone tries to convince you with words, the less they're convinced themselves. Let her talk, let her repeat it if she must, but you keep your focus on what's real, not what's rehearsed. Loyalty doesn't echo in conversations, it reveals itself in silence, in consistency, and in the moments when no one is watching. Before we move on, take a moment to reflect. Have you ever noticed someone saying all the right words, but deep down you felt something didn't add up? It's easy to be comforted by sweet assurances, but a man grounded in clarity knows that actions will always tell the real story. If you've experienced this, share your thoughts in the comments, or simply type, "I trust actions, not words." As a quick mood swings around you, reminder to yourself and others. And if you're finding value in this, don't forget to like the video. It helps spread this message of awareness and strength. Now let's continue, because seeing through words is just the beginning. Number 6, quick mood swings around you. Guilt is unstable 1 minute. She's affectionate the next. She's distant or irritable for no clear reason. It's not your behavior. It's her internal conflict spilling out. You've seen it happen. You're having a good moment together. She's warm, playful, maybe even extra caring. Then, almost without warning, her energy shifts. She becomes cold, short-tempered, or withdrawn. You're left wondering, did I say something wrong? Did I miss a sign? But here's the truth. It's not about you. It's about the silent weight she's carrying when guilt is quietly gnawing at someone. It creates emotional turbulence they can't fully control. She might not even understand why her mood is swinging so wildly, but deep down, it's that inner conflict bubbling to the surface. She wants to be close to you, but at the same time, her conscience reminds her of something she's not proud of. That tension between affection and avoidance shows up as unpredictable behaviour. Now, this is where most men fall into a dangerous pattern. They start overthinking, trying to fix the vibe, walking on eggshells just to keep her in that good mood. But the more you chase emotional stability from someone who's battling their own guilt, the more you lose your centre. A man grounded in Stoic discipline knows better. You don't adjust yourself to match her emotional waves, you become the anchor. Like the Stoics taught, you can't control external events, only your response to them. So when her mood swings hit, you don't take it personally. You don't react with frustration or desperate attempts to make things right. You remain calm, steady, unshaken. Seneca once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." These emotional storms aren't a test of your worth, they're a test of your composure. So when she shifts from sweet to distant, from affectionate to irritable, recognize it for what it is. Her internal conflict leaking into the space between you, and instead of getting pulled into that chaos, you hold your frame. You show her without saying a word that her instability won't disturb your peace, because here's the quiet power. Most men never realise when you stay steady in the face of someone else's emotional swings, it forces them to confront what's really causing the turbulence. It's not you, it's the guilt she's carrying. Avoiding conversations about the past. Number 7. Avoiding conversations about the past. If certain topics suddenly become off-limits, or she changes the subject when you mention specific events, she's hiding from her own memories. You know, the feeling you casually bring up a moment from the past, maybe a place you both used to go, a person you both knew, or even just a time frame that holds meaning. Suddenly, her whole energy shifts, she gets quiet, changes the subject, or brushes it off with a quick, "Let's not talk about that." It's subtle, but clear. There's something in those memories she doesn't want to face when guilt lingers. The past becomes dangerous territory. It's not that she's forgotten. It's that she remembers too well. Certain conversations trigger thoughts. She's been trying to suppress choices she's not proud of, or moments she hopes you'll never piece together. So instead of addressing them, she avoids them entirely, hoping that if she doesn't talk about it, it will disappear. Now, here's where a lot of men make a mistake. They start digging, asking questions, pushing for clarity, trying to get her to open up. But a man who truly understands himself and embraces Stoic wisdom knows that you don't chase hidden truths. You let them come to light on their own. A man focused on his future doesn't get stuck playing detective in someone else's past. He observes, he recognizes that avoidance is already an answer in itself. If she flinches at certain memories or dodges specific topics, it's because those moments carry a weight she's not ready or willing to explain. Marcus Aurelius reminded us to waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That same principle applies here. You don't waste energy pulling skeletons out of someone else's closet. Instead, you stay grounded in who you are, calm, forward-looking, and anchored in your own integrity. So when she avoids conversations about the past, you don't press. You don't show frustration. You simply take note, because a man who's truly aligned with his purpose understands that the past only haunts those who haven't made peace with it. Let her avoidance speak for itself. You don't need confessions, you don't need stories, you need clarity. And sometimes silence tells you everything you need to know. Keep your eyes on where you're going. not where she's afraid to look back. A man building his future has no need to wrestle with someone else's ghosts. He just listens, observes, and moves forward, because truth, like guilt, always reveals itself in time number 8. Fishing for your wrongdoings out of nowhere. She starts accusing you, questioning where you've been, who you've talked to. This isn't about you, it's projection. Guilt tries to balance itself by shifting blame. It's almost ironic, isn't it? You've been consistent, respectful, and transparent, and suddenly she's the one asking suspicious questions. Why didn't you answer earlier? Who were you really with? You've been acting different lately. At first, you might feel confused, even a bit hurt. You think, why is she doubting me when I've given her no reason? But here's the truth. Most men overlook when someone carries guilt. They often project their own behaviour onto you. It's a way to ease their conscience. If she can convince herself that you might be doing something wrong, it makes her own actions feel less heavy. It's guilt's oldest trick: deflect and distract. This is where emotional control becomes your greatest weapon. The average man falls straight into the trap, getting defensive, explaining himself, trying to prove his innocence. But every time you rush to justify yourself, you're playing right into the hands of her projection. You're treating her false accusations like they hold weight, when in reality they're nothing but reflections of her inner conflict. A man who's truly confident, who knows his actions are clean, doesn't waste breath defending against shadows. He understands what the Stoics taught: if you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. In other words, false words only have power if you give it to them. So when she starts fishing for your wrongdoings, recognize it for what it is: a sign that guilt is eating at her, not an indication that you've done anything wrong. You don't need to match her energy. You don't need to explain every minute of your day. You simply stay calm, composed, and let her accusations dissolve in the silence of your certainty. Because here's the thing, truth doesn't beg to be believed. A man who walks with integrity knows that his character speaks louder than any defense ever could. The more unfazed you remain, the more uncomfortable her guilt becomes. She'll realize that no amount of questioning can shake a man who has nothing to hide. Before we move forward, I want you to reflect. Have you ever found yourself defending against accusations you knew were baseless, only to realize later it wasn't about you at all? This is where emotional discipline separates a reactive man from a grounded one. If you face this kind of projection, share your experience in the comments, or simply type, "I don't defend against shadows," to remind yourself that truth doesn't need justification. Stay calm, stay centered. And now let's dive into the next insight where composure becomes your greatest power. Number 9. Overusing. I don't care. Overusing I don't care statements. Statements when she repeatedly says I don't care or it doesn't bother me. Pay attention. Real indifference is quiet. Loud indifference, that's usually guilt wrapped in denial. You see, when someone is truly unbothered, they don't feel the need to declare it over and over again. Genuine detachment speaks through calm actions, not defensive words, but when guilt is lurking beneath the surface, it often disguises itself as forced indifference. That's when you start hearing those repeated phrases. I don't care what you do, or it doesn't affect me at all. But if it truly didn't matter why, keep bringing it up. This is where a sharp, grounded man picks up on what's really happening. Those words aren't confidence. They're cover-ups. She's not trying to convince you. She's trying to convince herself. Guilt has a way of making people pretend they're unaffected, when deep down they're wrestling with emotions they don't want to admit, like regret, insecurity, or fear of being exposed. Let's say you casually mention that you've been focusing more on yourself lately, your goals, your time, your peace. Suddenly she hits you with, "Do whatever you want, I don't care." But her tone is sharp, her energy off. That's not detachment, that's discomfort, that's guilt reacting to the realization that you're no longer as available. And perhaps she knows she played a part in pushing you there. Now, Here's where Stoicism draws a clear line between real calm and performance. A Stoic man doesn't go around announcing his indifference. He doesn't need to say, "I'm unbothered," because his actions already show it. He's mastered the art of moving forward without noise, without drama, and without the need for validation. So when she overuses those "I don't care" statements, don't challenge her, don't mock it, and definitely don't try to test if she really means it. Just recognize it for what it is, a sign that something beneath the surface is unsettled. You, on the other hand, stay true to quiet strength. Let her words pass without reaction, because a man who's truly detached doesn't perform his piece. He embodies it. Remember, the loudest claims of indifference often come from those who care the most, but are too proud or too guilty to admit it. Stay calm, stay observant, and let her contradictions reveal themselves. The man who walks in silence focused on his purpose never needs to announce that he's moved on, and that's exactly why his absence speaks volumes. Number 10. Sudden need for space. She claims she just needs time to. Sudden need for space. Think, but often guilt pushes people to withdraw. Not because they need clarity, but because being around you magnifies their discomfort. It's a line you've probably heard before. Out of nowhere, things seem to shift. She tells you she needs space or time to figure things out. And naturally, most men start to panic, wondering what they did wrong, over-analysing every conversation, every action. But here's a truth. Many overlook when guilt is present. Distance isn't always about needing clarity. It's about escaping the mirror. You unknowingly hold up to her. You see when someone carries guilt, being near the person they've wronged becomes uncomfortable. Your presence, your consistency, your calmness, your integrity becomes a silent reminder of their own actions. It's not that you're saying anything, it's that they feel everything when they're around you. So instead of facing that discomfort, they retreat, dressing it up as a need for space. Epictetus taught that no man is free who is not master of himself when she asks for space. It's not your job to chase or to fill the silence. It's your job to remain unmoved, to let her wrestle with whatever truth she's avoiding while you continue to focus on your path. Think of it this way: if someone pulls away because being near you forces them to confront their own guilt, that's not your burden to carry. That's their internal battle. And the last thing you should do is try to close that gap out of fear or insecurity. A man grounded in his worth sees distance for what it really is, a stage where true intentions are revealed. If she's sincere, she'll use that space to reflect and return with clarity. If she's escaping, she'll stay distant because facing you would mean facing herself. So when she suddenly claims she needs time, don't react emotionally. Don't demand timelines or explanations. Simply nod. Step back and continue living with purpose, because the man who values himself never fears losing someone who's running from their own conscience. He knows that space doesn't break real connections. It only exposes the weak ones. Now, here's the key takeaway. Conclusion. Don't need to catch her. You don't need to confront, accuse, or play detective. A man who's grounded in himself doesn't chase confessions, he simply sees. Because when you embody calm observation, emotional control, and self-respect, everything that's meant to reveal itself will in conclusion. Guilt always finds a way to surface, no matter how hard it's denied. But the real question isn't whether she feels guilty. It's whether you are the kind of man who lets actions speak louder than explanations, who protects his peace over seeking closure, and who moves forward with clarity, not confusion. Remember, Stoicism isn't about being cold, it's about being unshaken. If this video resonated with you, drop a like to support the channel. Leave a comment below. Have you ever noticed any of these signs before? I'd love to hear your experiences, and don't forget to check out the recommended videos on screen. They'll help you dive deeper into mastering emotional control, understanding relationship dynamics, and becoming the man who never loses himself. No matter who tries to hide the truth, stay sharp, stay grounded. I'll see you in the next one.